Chapter 1 Prologue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I open my eyes, seeing a familiar ceiling, and turn my face to look at my computer that was on my personal desk. When did I get home? Rising from my bed, I start to think. My memories were scrambled and I couldn't remember anything. Victor. Suddenly I hear a woman's voice. It was an angelic voice, a wonderfully beautiful voice, and she sounded very worried. Ugh. Who? I put a hand to my head when I feel it start hurting badly. I lean on the bed and try to get up, but all of a sudden I feel my hand sinking into the material of the bed. I hear the noise of wood breaking and look in the direction of my hand. I see that my hand has gone through the mattress and broke the wood that supports my bed. I quickly pulled my hand away and I looked, confused, at my mattress that had a hole in it. What's wrong with me? I asked aloud, stunned. I don't remember being so strong. Did something happen to me? I start to question myself, and I try to search my memory. But, even though I try to search my memory, I can't find it. It's like something is blocking my memories. I try to form a coherent train of thought as if I'm putting together a puzzle. Let's start at the beginning. I went to the grocery store to buy the food my mom ordered, but I try to continue to form a timeline with my memories, but I don't have time for that when I feel unbearable thirst in my throat. It was like I ran a marathon and needed a drink of water. My throat was parched. I quickly get up, ignoring the sounds of wood creaking from the floor, and grab my bathroom door handle, attempting to open the door, but something amazing happens. The door is literally ripped off the wall. I was shocked at this show of force, but I don't have time to admire it, or even question how I was able to do it. I quickly walk into the bathroom and try to turn on the water tap. As before, the tap broke when I tried to open it and the water started to spew out. I ignored it, and put my mouth into the water trying to drink as much as possible. I looked like a man who was lost in the desert and found an oasis for the first time in days. I feel the cold water from the tap entering my mouth and seeping down my throat, but the water doesn't seem to satisfy me. I needed more. I needed something to satisfy my thirst. The water didn't seem to be working. Calm down, I hear a woman's voice. It was the same voice that called my name when I woke up. Suddenly, as if it were a misleading lie, the thirst I had been feeling earlier disappeared. I fall to the ground and start to inhale and breathe heavily. Who's there? I asked out loud, but I didn't hear an answer. I take a deep breath and sigh. Just what in the name of God is happening? Did I look at the overflowing water and realize I couldn't leave it like this? I carefully turned off another valve that was located near the floor and soon the water stopped pouring. I sigh in relief and get up off the floor. I turn to look at myself in the mirror, and what I see surprises me. Is that me? That I look a little taller. I have a well-defined body with muscles in the right places, six-pack abs and muscular arms. What stood out the most in my appearance is the incredibly pale skin. It's like I'm missing most of the blood in my body. I used to look like a dead creature from a disease that gave me anemia, an extremely inconvenient disease and in some cases deadly. But, this is another level. I look like I don't have any blood in my body. I also notice that my face is more defined, and my blue eyes and black hair have gained more shine. Did the former 21-year-old who was skinny and looked like a teenager, grow up to be an athletic-looking man in just one night? What happened? Was I kidnapped by the government and drafted into the super soldier program? Victor, what's going on? Why all the noise? I look towards where I hear another voice and I start to breathe heavily. My throat starts to get thirsty again. I look through the wall and see the image of a human, and I can see her heart beating in a very attractive rhythm. I could see the person's entire body with a red vision. It was like the world around me had changed, and I could see the heart that was glowing a more vibrant red. It was like it was inviting me to rip it out, and drink it. Victor? What's happening? What was that noise? Hearing my mother's voice, I woke up from my inebriated state. Mother. I responded in the most normal voice I could muster, but, it was obvious that I failed. Victor. Open the door, what's going on? I look at my reflection in the mirror and notice that my eyes have changed to blood red. Oh. Shit. Realizing what happened to me changed me in many different ways, I started to think rationally. I try with all my strength to resist the temptation to leave the room and rip my mother's heart out. First, I must calm my mother down and get her out of here. Mom, I'm busy right now. Realizing I was speaking normally again, she visibly calms, at least that's what my new red vision implies. I can't see her expression, but I can see her heart beating at a slower pace. Can you open the door? I can't, I'm not wearing clothes right now, I said in an uncomfortable voice. Oh, she suddenly turns and starts heading towards the stairs. I was confused for a moment. Why did she give up so easily? Make sure you take out your trash. I don't want to clean your fluids, that's your girlfriend's job. If you have one, of course. Oof, I feel an arrow in my chest for some reason, but, strangely, it helped me calm down. I grow a little smile. My mother has no mercy and speaks her mind, she's very honest. That's the quality I like most about her. Though, I won't deny that I am often irritated with her honesty, but living 21 years of my life under her roof, you get used to it. Anyway, I look at the clock and see that it's morning. I need to go to college, but I don't think I'm able to go out on the street right now, and, I look at my room and see the mess I made. The floor was broken, the door was ripped out, the bathroom was flooded. I need to organize this mess. 2 hours later, when tidying my room, I found out several things about my new self. I had more strength, much more strength than I had previously. Because of this change, I'm having trouble controlling myself. Before I used X-Force and I could open my bedroom door without breaking anything, but if I use the same force now, the bedroom door will literally be ripped off the wall. My senses like hearing, smelling, sight, etc. They're much more sensitive. My hearing isn't on the level of the comic book scout friend who wears blue and red and has the S symbol on his chest. That guy could hear the entire planet. As far as I've tested, I can hear everything that's going on in my house and in the surrounding neighborhood. It's annoying. I hear multiple voices at the same time and I can't discern who's who. Because of that, I tried something. I focused all my attention on a porn video that I opened on my computer called, The Hardest Game in the World. Do I look stupid? Yes, but it worked. Men are easy creatures to grab attention from. My sense of smell has also improved, but the only thing I can smell from several kilometers away is blood. I can't differentiate the scents either. Another thing I learned is that I have another kind of vision. When I switch to this vision, the world turns red and I can see everything around as if there were no walls. And, in this world, I can see human silhouettes. When I focus on these beings, I can see their hearts glowing bright red. I just tested this for a few seconds. I don't want to risk getting thirsty again, and yes. I know shit happened to me. I became a vampire, or something like a vampire. The features are very obvious: pale skin, red eyes, better physical conditioning, and an insatiable thirst. Knowing this, I have a starting line in my reasoning. First, let's see what weaknesses I have. What am I? I say to myself out loud. This morning was weird. For some reason, I don't remember what happened yesterday and I woke up with the characteristics of a vampire. But, I also didn't have the obvious weaknesses of a vampire. Am I reading too many books? But, hey, at least I don't glow in the sunlight. I laugh at my own lame joke. I close my eyes, and slowly, I drift off to sleep. Chapter 2 Awakening. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Night, I open my eyes and get up from my bed. I hold my throat, feeling an unbearable thirst. This time I felt like I couldn't control myself. I feared for my family's life, that I would do something myself, an action I would regret forever. I open the window, position myself at the edge, and jump. I don't know how much force I put in, but I felt the window frame crack a little, and soon I was in heaven. At night, I felt stronger, my senses increased. Before, I could hear my whole neighborhood, but now I don't know what the limit is. I also had no control over my feelings. I actually tried to control myself, but the bloodlust was holding me back. It was like I tried to drive a car, but I was too drunk to achieve any control. I was freaking out from the smell of blood. I need blood. I need blood. Without me realizing it, sharp fangs started to grow in my mouth. I fell on top of a building, and felt the crash of concrete breaking, but I ignored it and ran towards the stronger smell of blood. I don't know how long it took, my consciousness was almost fading, but I did my best to keep my consciousness active. I refused to become an animal overpowered by thirst. Soon, I was in a dark alley. Slowly, my world starts to change to the color of blood, and soon I see 4 silhouettes, 3 men, and 1 woman. 2 men are holding the woman's arms, and another man is holding a knife to the woman's neck. I looked at the hearts of the 3 men as if watching prey. They looked just like my mother's, with the only difference being that the light of their hearts was weaker. "Hey, who are you? Get out of here." They said something, but I didn't care. I looked at the woman, and realized she was weird. She didn't have a red light in her heart. Did she have a red light in her neck? For some reason, women attracted me more than men. One of the men walks towards me with a knife in his hand. He approaches me but stops walking when I look at him. Without my noticing, a predatory smile appeared on my face, and in that smile, they could see that my teeth looked sharper than a normal human. My teeth looked like a shark's, teeth that could easily tear through flesh and bones, and that sight startled the 3 bandits. The bad guys' faces started to change. They looked like they saw their worst nightmare manifested in front of them. A monster, the thug who was holding the woman, spoke. He tried to run away, but he couldn't. He was paralyzed. My smile grows abnormally when I feel the fear of the bad guys. I walked calmly towards them. They couldn't get away. By the time they looked into my eyes, they were already trapped like pigs being brought to the slaughter. With a display of supernatural speed, I appear in front of the bad guy with the knife. With a speed that he can't react to, I pierced his chest with my hand and pulled out his heart. Holding the man's heart in my hand, I felt the heart beating in an attractive rhythm, but for some reason, the man's blood didn't interest me. I opened my hands and the man's heart dropped to the ground. Huh. The movement I made was so fast that the bandit's own body didn't have time to react to what happened. All the bandit saw at the end of his life was the predatory smile and red eyes of the freak that attacked him. "Hi!" The thug who was holding the woman screamed like a scared little girl and tried to get away, but like his friend, he couldn't run. This time, I disappear in front of the thug and appear behind him, and soon his vision starts to spin. It was as if he had lost his balance, but before the thread of life faded from his eyes, he realized that his head had separated from his body. I grab his head and use my tongue to lick the blood off his face. After all, I was curious about the taste, though I didn't feel like drinking his blood, but soon my expression distorted in disgust. Disgusting. That I spit on the floor in disgust. It feels like I've eaten a bad hamburger. Now, I understood why I wasn't interested in these men's blood. I look at the last bandit left. Using my arm like a sword, I cut the bandit in half. The bandit looks down and sees his body falling towards the ground. In the end, he can't even say anything. I was intoxicated by the pleasure of killing and the smell of blood in the air. My consciousness was in a state in between wakefulness and sleep. From my perspective, it felt like I was dreaming. Ha 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 ha! I hear a woman's voice laughing. I look at her, my vision slowly returns to normal, and I see a beautiful pale woman with long white hair that is tied in a ponytail that reaches the floor. She has vibrant violet eyes, a nice figure, modest breasts, and an ass big enough that it can't be hidden by the black dress she's wearing. Was she wearing a dress with a tie? Her outfit looked like goth cosplay. She's also tall, just a little under my height. I don't know how tall I am now, but before my transformation I was 175 cm, I look around 180 cm now. As predicted, you exceeded my expectations, Victor. Hearing her voice again, I suddenly remembered the voice from when I woke up this morning. When I was going to question her about the doubts I had, she put her finger to my lips. Shoo. You must quench your thirst first. My blood will tell you everything you need to know, darling. Suddenly, she reached for the buttons of the dress she was wearing and started to undress. Slowly she showed some of her neck. Seeing that pale skin and smelling her a lot stronger than before, I swallow hard. My senses were going crazy. All I wanted was to sink my fangs into her neck. While keeping the flirtatious smile on her face, she said, "Come." That I hug her with all my strength and bite her neck. Ah. You are being very violent. You can find the rest of this content on the WeaktoStrong platform. I ignored what she said and started drinking her blood. It was the most delicious thing I've ever tasted in this life. I felt like I was eating a 5-star dish made by the most renowned chef in the world, but it wasn't just that. I felt a connection forming. I felt her whole existence. It was a euphoric feeling. It was like a drug you couldn't stop taking. Her blood tasted so good. Looks like you like my blood, that's good. She spoke with a flirtatious smile. I suddenly felt a bite on my neck. Everything I was feeling from drinking her blood suddenly intensified. The blood tasted 100x better, our connection increased and we became one. It was weird, but it wasn't bad. Actually, it was really good. Suddenly a set of memories started to enter my mind. I was in a place that I know well. This was the market I always go to when my mom needs to buy supplies. Apparently, I was seeing this woman's point of view. Are you sure? A woman's voice asked. She sounded quite unsure. Yes, I will make him my darling. The white-haired woman spoke with a loving smile. Suddenly the vision changed and I was in an abandoned building. Looks like the woman took me to some abandoned place. She bites her finger with her thong, and soon the blood starts to drip. When the blood falls to the ground, something like a magic circle forms. When she looks at the ground, I see my old body lying there, and, did I look hurt? My arm had a big cut like a wild animal had clawed me. I could tell that I would have died from blood loss at any moment. When the circle formed on the ground, she bit her wrist. As soon as red blood started coming out of her arm, she brought her arm closer to my body, and let her blood fall into my mouth. She sits on my body, lifts me off the ground, hugs me, then she says, "Victor, you're going to be reborn, I'm sorry about this." Suddenly, she breaks my neck. It stays connected to my body, and soon something happens. My body starts to regenerate at an unbelievable speed and the magic circle starts to spin on the ground. When my body stops regenerating, the magic circle suddenly disappears. The woman displays a satisfied smile. Success. Suddenly, I open my eyes, and I realize that they are blood red. I get up quickly and hug the woman, then I bite the white-haired woman's neck. Did I finish biting the white-haired woman and the memories of the other person disappear, or she just stops sharing? Before I can figure out what happened next, the world around me starts to crumble and I wake up in the dark alley I was in earlier. What happened after I disappeared? New novel chapters are published on WeaktoStrong.com. Victor, do you want to kill me? You are already satisfied, right? She spoke with a playful smile. I stop biting the white-haired woman and look at her. I have a lot of questions on my mind now, but first, what's your name? That the woman displays the most beautiful smile I have ever seen. Violet. Violet Snow. The violet ice flower. Fancy name, huh? I commented with a small forced smile. My family is quite peculiar. She laughed. I bet it is, I commented with the same smile, so I give my name too. Victor, Victor Walker. The Walking Victor. That is very simple, she commented with a small laugh. Well, my family are simple people, I commented with a shrug. Now that I've calmed down, I look at the corpses and feel my stomach churn at the sight. I feel like throwing up, but at the same time my body refuses to let anything out. After all, I was just nauseous. It was like I had taken a long 24-hour car ride, and I needed some air. Had mixed feelings about the situation. Internally, I didn't care about the death of strangers, even though those deaths were caused by myself, but my rational mind knew that was wrong. But, honestly, I was just confused by everything that was going on, and I didn't care about those dead men. Violet, seeing my confused face, proposes, "Let's change locations." That I nod in agreement. She approaches me, and says, "Try to follow me, I'll slow down." Violet suddenly, with a small impulse, jumps towards the building's roof. I try to do the same, but the ground around me ends up breaking. Looking at this, I realize how I have no control of my strength. Leaving it aside for now, I start following Violet. I know she was the woman who made me what I am now. I should be suspicious of her, but for some reason, I can't do it. It's just a feeling, but I feel like I've met this woman once in the past. I just don't remember when. Well, baby steps, one baby step at a time. I know absolutely nothing right now to make a decision. For now, let's follow this beautiful vampire. the most up-to-date novels are published on Wuxiax.com. Info: the sociopath is a term used to describe someone who has an antisocial personality disorder. People with this disorder, also called sociopathy, lack empathy. They cannot understand the feelings of others. The functional sociopath designates a person who, despite suffering from sociopathy, has this situation under control, i.e., the effects of sociopathy do not greatly affect their interaction with other people. Chapter 3: Violet Snow. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. I accompanied Violet to a mansion similar to those you would only see in movies. The place was absurdly huge. How many rooms does this place have? Just from the size of the garden and the statue of a woman in the middle of the garden, I realized this place must have cost a lot of money. The moment I tried to enter Violet's house, I was prevented from entering. Soon I remember the weakness of vampires who can't enter other people's houses without being invited. It seems I have that weakness too. Violet looks at me for a moment just as a woman who is dressed as a French maid appears. The moment the woman enters my vision, I realize she's not a vampire. She has blonde hair tied back in a ponytail, blue eyes, and a modest body. She looked to be between 21 and 30 years old. Her height was a little short. I think she was 170 cm. Miss Violet, I see you have brought a guest. The maid spoke in a neutral tone that held no feeling. Natalia, can you invite him in? Violet spoke in a friendly tone. Yes, Miss Violet, she said while looking at Violet. You can enter. When the maid spoke these words, I felt as if a force that was preventing me from entering had disappeared. Come on, Victor. You must have a lot of questions, right? Violet spoke with a gentle little smile. I nod in agreement. I walk towards Violet and start to follow her. While I was walking towards Violet, I felt the maid look at me like she was sizing me up or something. Passing the maid, Violet and I walk towards a living room. She points to a plush-looking sofa and asks me to sit down. Nod my head in agreement. As I take a seat on the couch, I see Violet walking up beside me and sitting down next to me. Her scent. Her scent is very alluring. I shake my head several times in an attempt to control my impulses. You are controlling yourself very well despite being a newborn. She commented with a small surprised smile. I was thinking you would jump on me and ravage me on this couch for all the servants in this mansion to see. Too bad. This woman. I feel my eyes twitch a little when I hear what she says. Although I find that offer attractive, I'm not an exhibitionist, and I want answers. You're honest, huh? She blinked a few times as she responded with a pretty smile. Try to live with a woman who only speaks her mind for 21 years of your life, you will inevitably pick up on some of her traits. I spoke with a shrug. For some reason I felt the temperature around Violet start to warm up. I wonder who this woman is. She spoke as her eyes were hidden by her hair. Cough. Violet pretended to cough and leaned away from me. She assumed a noble woman's posture and started talking. This posture would be more convincing if she wasn't in my lap, but I'm not complaining. Let's start at the beginning. There are two kinds of vampires in this world, the noble vampires I'm a part of, and the plebeian vampires that you'll one day meet. The two species are the same, but at the same time different. For example, noble vampires can have children and, without exception, the noble vampire's child will have the same characteristics as his noble father or mother, with the only difference being that the characteristics of the child will be much stronger. The Snow family has the fire trait. We can control fire and we have full immunity to the sun. Normally this trait wouldn't be passed on to other vampires my family has raised, but you seem to be different. She said in a happy tone. I opened my eyes a little. That means I inherited. Yes, you inherited my trait. All vampires without exception have a weakness to the sun. Only a few families have a certain resistance to sunlight, but only my family has full immunity to sunlight. That I swallow hard for a moment when I think of the bullshit I've done. Just out of curiosity, what happens when a normal vampire is bathed in sunlight? Violet smiled gently. They turn to ashes. Jesus Christ. That was close, really. I almost turned to volcanic ash. But, snow, huh? The characteristic of her family is the opposite of the meaning of her name. Just like I said before, my family's characteristic is to control fire. She raises her hand and a fireball appears in her hand. My family is very feared in the vampire world. After all, with a small ball of fire, we can burn a vampire to ash. She spoke with a predatory smile full of shark-like teeth. What's the difference with plebeian vampires? I asked. They can't have children, and they get characteristics according to their personality. The plebeian vampires are usually the vampires that the noble vampires have created, so, I'm a plebeian vampire? I asked, confused. After all, I wasn't born a vampire. Yes, and no. Violet spoke. You were born a plebeian vampire, but since you inherited my trait, that makes you a noble vampire. Remember that red world you talked about? She spoke in a sensual tone as she breathed close to my ear. Yes, I reply in a flat voice, trying to ignore her teasing. That's your plebeian vampire trait. You gained that trait when I turned you into a vampire. Do you remember your immunity to sunlight? She asked as she licked my ear. You can find the rest of this content on the WeaktoStrong platform. When Violet licked my ear, it felt like a surge of electricity went through my entire body. Feeling Violet's panties rubbing against my little brother, I can't help but get excited. Yes, I replied a little breathlessly. I didn't even realize I had held my breath. You inherited this trait from me. Normally that's not possible, but you're special. Your blood is special. She licked my neck. Just because you have full immunity to sunlight, that makes you a noble vampire of House Snow. That am I special? Is my blood special? What the hell is this woman talking about? Despite being aroused and my urges freaking out telling me to bite Violet, I could still think somewhat clearly. Let's save the boring explanation for later. Violet pulls away from me. I look at her face and see that it was a little red and she was breathing heavily. She was clearly turned on and felt bloodlust. She put her hand on my shirt and rips. She opens her mouth and I can see her teeth transforming. They got sharper, just like mine. Her teeth seemed capable of tearing flesh easily. She bites me with those teeth that look like those of a shark. I only feel the pain for a moment, but soon a wave of pleasure spreads through my body and I grab Violet's ass. I get up from the couch holding us and throw her back onto the couch. While doing all these moves, she hasn't stopped sucking my blood. I rip off her goth dress and soon an elegant black bra appears. I open my mouth and I feel my teeth change and my vision shift to blood red. As I look around the mansion with my eyes, I see all the people hiding behind the mansion wall. It made me lose the urge to bite Violet, and a wave of annoyance began to spread through my body. Doing the math, I see 4 female silhouettes and 2 male silhouettes. Only one silhouette had their heart glowing red. I assume this is the maid I saw when I entered the mansion. The rest must be vampires. For some inexplicable reason, I was annoyed. I was extremely annoyed. I know I'm not an exhibitionist, but these emotions don't make sense to me. It's like a little problem is going up 500x because of my emotions. I look at a silhouette that has a red glowing mark on its neck. I see that person's silhouette shiver for a moment. A bloody atmosphere began to leave my body, and I spoke with an irritated growl. Leave. That I've seen the silhouette shake several times, but the male silhouette clenches his fists tightly and remains in place. Is it that annoying because he didn't leave? Annoying, irritating, noticing the irregularity in my emotions, Violet stops biting me and looks up to where I was looking with glowing red eyes. Leave. As soon as she orders, the people behind the walls disappear. Ignore them, they're just protecting me. My family is overprotective, you know. She giggled a little with her lips full of blood. She pushed me down on the couch again, and showed her neck. Updated from WeaktoStrong. The feeling of annoyance begins to subside, and soon my impulses start to trigger again, and soon I bite Violet's neck. Chapter 4: An incredibly beautiful woman. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. I don't understand, I said out loud with my head in Violet's lap. After our blood-sucking session, I lay in Violet's lap while she stroked my hair. What do you not understand? She spoke in a maternal tone. My emotions. I said, then continued, I've always been a calm, rational person. My mom always taught me to use my head in any kind of situation. but I don't understand why I'm losing control of my emotions. It's a very strange feeling. Violet, who was still wearing a black bra, looks at me and flashes a small maternal smile. You're doing better than most newborns, don't worry, this is normal. This is normal? I questioned confusedly. In the vampire movies I watched with my dad, vampires always seem to be in control of their actions. I guess I shouldn't take knowledge of movies to reality, huh? Well, I can't help but list them considering I watched a lot of movies with my dad. He was a hardcore movie fan. Yes, vampires feel things more intensely than a normal human. It's because of this problem that we live in isolation with other vampires. Just imagine, you're walking down the street calmly, and you accidentally bump into a vampire. If that vampire is a newborn, he will be extremely upset and will want to kill you. That is ridiculous. I can't help but comment. Indeed, but it's not just that, love, hate, fun, etc. All of our emotions are amplified. There are a lot of vampires who are crazy because of that. Vampires seem to be a problematic race. Come to think of it, I accepted this situation too easily, huh? Well, it's no use crying over spilled milk. At least now, I won't suffer from constant anemia because of my blood type. Suddenly, I hear footsteps approaching. I look in the direction of the steps and see the blonde maid again. Miss Violet. The blonde maid looks at me and Violet for a few seconds. She looks at Violet again. Miss Violet, please dress appropriately, we have a visitor. Violet looks at the maid with an annoyed look. I realize she wasn't upset with the maid, she was upset with the guest. I get up from Violet's lap and my eyes turn red. As I look toward the mansion's entrance I see the silhouettes of a man and a woman, and both their necks are glowing red. Vampires, huh? I commented in a neutral tone. Violet looks at me with her eyes shining. That skill of yours is quite useful. How far can you see? She looked like a child who found something very interesting. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. I don't know, I've never tested the limits of my abilities yet. I spoke honestly. Violet nods, a little disappointed, and gets up from the couch. The maid approaches a wall and gently pushes a part of it. Soon a wardrobe of black clothes appears. But, for some reason, there are men's clothes too, and the men's clothes are also black. Choose any outfit and get dressed, Victor. I had prepared the clothes for you beforehand. Ah. I've wanted to say those words for a long time. She speaks with an excited smile. The most up-to-date novels are published on wuxiax.com. Choose any outfit. But it's all the same. I look at Violet with a neutral face. When she gets close to the wardrobe, I can't help but think, a long time, huh? Just how long have you been watching me, Violet? Suddenly a woman who is wearing a modern maid's outfit appears at my side. Lord Victor, please dress appropriately for the visitors. They may be lesser beings, or maybe insects, they may even be pigs who came here to be downcast, but you, as a noble vampire, must always dress appropriately. The maid spoke in a neutral tone that held no emotions, but I could feel her contempt for her guest. I look at the maid. She has short black hair, black eyes, and her expression is always set with a poker face. Looking at the maid's features, she looks oriental and she's very short. She must be around 160 cm. What's your name? And Lord Victor? Why are you calling me that? I ask confused. This maid's name is Kagaya, and you are Lady Violet's husband, so, of course, we, as servants, should call you with respect. She spoke as if it were obvious. Hearing what the maid said, I opened my eyes wide and quickly turned to Violet, who is being dressed by the blonde maid. Seeing my questioning eyes, Violet displays the most beautiful loving smile I have ever seen, and says, unlike the movies you've watched in the past, vampires have several restrictions on turning other beings into vampires. The first restriction you already know, the human must be a virgin. The second restriction was created by our ancestors. When creating a new vampire, a ritual must be done. When the ritual takes place, a magic circle appears on the ground. At this moment the vampire responsible for the ritual must choose whether the human they will transform will become the husband or slave of this vampire. She pauses, slowly her eyes begin to change to blood red, then continues. When I turned you into a vampire, I chose you to be my husband. So it was that magic circle I saw in the memories, huh? Unconsciously, my eyes start to change to red as I look at Violet and I can feel something I can't explain. It is like I'm being filled with another life. It's a really weird feeling, but it's really good. It's the same feeling I get when I feed on Violet's blood, but at the same time different. I can also feel emotions that aren't mine. I feel happiness, love, and obsession coming from Violet. These emotions are so intense that I feel overwhelmed for a moment. Can you feel it? She spoke in a loving voice as she touched the area where her heart was. She was breathing erratically and I could see that the air around her was starting to heat up. Yes, I said honestly, I try to focus on that feeling and I can feel Violet, I can feel all the emotions she is transmitting to me, but, unconsciously, I turn my head and look in a different direction than Violet and I can feel something incredibly faint. It was like I felt a connection somewhere else, an extremely weak connection, but I couldn't pinpoint the location of this connection I was feeling. This is proof of our connection. From the moment I turned you into a vampire, you became my husband for all eternity, you became my darling. I turned to look at Violet. When she spoke those words, she had a crazy smile on her face. It was a dangerous smile. But, at the same time, I thought that smile was beautiful, a very beautiful smile indeed. She definitely had a head problem, and I think that just for the simple fact that I'm taking this very easily, I must have a head problem too. But honestly, I do not mind. I display a small happy smile. It looks like I'll see you for years to come, so I hope you take care of me. Honey. The last word almost didn't come out of my mouth. After all, I didn't know if it was right. I didn't know what it was to have a girlfriend, much less did I know what it was to have a wife, but I felt it was appropriate to call her that way. Suddenly Violet's smile grows erratically. She suddenly appears in front of me and hugs me tightly. Yes. I will take care of you. My darling. Updated from WeaktoStrong that it seems I triggered some kind of button in this woman's body. She started hugging me and sniffing me while saying, darling. She dragged her hand all over my body like she was trying to possess me or something. She looked incredibly adorable. Unconsciously I started stroking her white hair. Feeling my hand in her hair, she suddenly froze and stopped moving. She turned her face towards me. As we were almost the same height I could see her face very close to mine. As I caressed her, I asked, what happened? Why did you stop? Aren't you annoyed, or irritated by my attitude? She asked in an untrusting voice. Why would I be? I think you are incredibly adorable, I replied honestly. Ugh, she put her hand to her chest. It was like she had been hit by something in her heart. Yes, indeed. Lady Violet is definitely at a point of no return. Kaguya spoke as the blonde-haired maid approached Natalia. Natalia made a silent gesture to Kaguya. Kaguya just nods. I look at myself and realize I was wearing a black suit. I looked, shocked, at my appearance and at Kaguya's hands holding my old clothes. Wait. That's my underwear. How could I not feel her undressing me? Kaguya made some hand gestures. I am a professional employee of Clan Snow. I would be surprised if Lord Victor could feel me undressing him. These hands have been trained to undress any man or woman no matter what gender. I must comply with my duty properly. As a professional maid I take my duty very seriously. She spoke in a flat, unemotional tone, but I could feel an unshakable confidence in that maid's tone. Okay. I didn't know what to say. Actually, what am I supposed to say? I just thought that and turned to Violet, who was still in a state like she was dreaming. She was giggling in low tones as she spoke quickly. She seemed to be delirious. She's definitely in a state of no return. I think I should notify Lady Violet's parents. Natalia said as she walked towards the door. Well, isn't that interesting? A very dedicated maid, a blonde maid who doesn't seem to care about her master, and a quirky master. I think vampires are weird beings, huh? Although the blonde maid is not a vampire. It took a while for Violet to wake up from her state of illusion, or I don't think she's fully awake yet. We were in a different room. I was sitting on the couch and Violet was sitting next to me as she hugged my arms with a little smile on her face. She looked like a very respected noblewoman. It seems like her attitude I saw a few minutes ago was all an illusion. Follow new episodes on the WeaktoStrong platform. I look around and can't help but wonder how many rooms does this mansion have. This room looks incredibly similar to the one I was in, but I feel this room is different. For some reason I feel uneasy in this place, it's like I'm being watched. I use my vision that changes my world to blood red, and I could see why I felt that way. This room was surrounded by vampires. I did a brief count and there were 20 vampires. And they were all over the mansion. It looks like this place is bigger than I thought. I look down and see some red silhouettes in the basement too. I also see that the only human in this mansion is Natalia, and she was actually in the basement sitting with 2 more vampires, and she seems to be eating something. Lady Violet, I didn't know you were. Dating. The vampire who was sitting across from me started to speak, but he was interrupted by Violet. He is my husband. She spoke in a neutral tone that carried a lot of happiness. I didn't know you were married. The man spoke. I look at the man who is accompanied by a woman. He is a tall man of 190 cm, with short black hair slicked back. He was wearing a white suit, and glasses. Overall he looked like a successful lawyer. The woman, who was looking at me like she was looking at prey, has short black hair, her haircut looks like a Karen's and she was wearing a normal work suit. She's shorter than the man and must be around 170 centimeters tall. Coincidentally, her name was also Karen. Violet displays a small smile and speaks while her eyes are closed. Lucy, I don't think you should know something about my life. Why don't you go back to your mommy who gave you that feminine name? She spoke in disdain. Damn, woman. That was wild. Is it okay to talk like that to a guest? Not that I care. Lucy gently adjusts his glasses as his hands shake a little. Cough. He pretended to cough and looked at Violet. Lady Violet, you're right. He leans back on the couch and says, I came here for one reason only. I want permission to bring a lot of vampires to this town. Oh. I start watching the man. Violet opened her eyes and they were glowing red. Lucy, this is my territory, and I don't accept other vampires in my territory that aren't connected to my family. You know that, and yet you come to ask me about it. Are you looking for war? I wouldn't dare. I intend to live for a few thousand years yet. I don't intend to offend Clan Snow for something small like this. He spoke with a small smile. Violet remains silent and waits for Lucy to continue his words. You know, Lady Violet, I'm a very scared man. I'm very scared of dying and, because of that, I need to defend myself. I don't want to die from a bullet in my head. He spoke while making exaggerated gestures. Visit wuxiax.com for a better experience. Violet opens her eyes a little. She seems to understand what he was trying to convey, then she continued in a bored tone, The Inquisition. Chapter 5 The Inquisition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Inquisition. I speak to myself out loud. Oh. Lucy claps his hands in a startled gesture. Lord husband doesn't know what that is. How long have you been a vampire? Don't tell me you're a newborn. He spoke in a neutral tone, but it was pretty clear he was trying to tease me. I didn't expect the princess of Clan Snow to have a plebeian husband. I think hell must be frozen by now. The woman next to Lucy said, they're really trying to piss me off, but unexpectedly, I don't feel a thing about them. The feelings I have are something like this. Do you care what a bug thinks of you? I don't care, and I think that's why I don't feel anything. Is this your attempt to provoke me? Childish. I speak honestly. Huh? Lucy exclaimed, a little surprised. I realized the woman was surprised too, but I ignored her. I think they thought I would be angry since, according to Violet, newborns are very likely to lose control of their emotions. I would understand if you were a newborn who was talking to me, but you're an older vampire, right? Why are you being so aggressive? Are you menstruating? Or do you have a dick in your ass all the time? Is this woman not satisfying you? I think I should call little Timmy for you. Timmy? Lucy asked confused. Oh, you don't know the legendary Timmy? I spoke with an unbelieving expression. It was like I was looking at two rare animals. I guess that living for so long does not mean that you are a man knowledgeable in modern affairs. I spoke in disdain. Let me enlighten you, my little lamb. Timmy is a church boy. He's 2 meters tall, muscular, and he loves to purge vampires with his holy wand. I think he would love to bond with you," I said with a small smile. Violet inadvertently let out a small laugh for a few seconds, but soon she returned to her noble expression as she kept a small smile on her face. Lucy's smile slowly began to break. Slowly, and as if it were a lie, Lucy's mask began to fall apart. "Do you want to die, boy?" He spoke with an angry and aggressive tone. "In front of me is just an older vampire who is sadistic and likes to kill." "Oh. As expected from an older vampire, you're definitely getting senile," I sneered as I ignored Lucy. "Lucy, where do you think you are right now?" Violet spoke with a small smile on her face that showed all her sharp teeth. The air was suddenly heavy. Lucy could feel killing intent all over the mansion, and small beads of sweat began to appear on his face. Realizing the stupid thing he did, Lucy's expression does a 360-degree turn, and soon he starts to smile, gently, cough. He pretended to cough, and spoke in an apologetic tone. "I'm sorry about that slip, Lady Violet." The killing intent disappears as if it never existed, but the atmosphere of surveillance still lingers in the air. Something tells me that if Lucy tries to do something, he won't stay alive for long. Well, I must surely praise how quick he is at controlling his emotions, as expected of an older vampire, I guess. "Violet, what is the Inquisition?" I ignored Lucy, and spoke directly to Violet. The Inquisition is an organization made by the Vatican Church. They train humans to hunt down the vampires that are causing trouble in the human world. They use blessed holy water weapons, and chant Bible verses to cause permanent damage to vampire mind. "Oh, so they are vampire hunters," I said carefree. Why was I calm? "Well, it's simple. There's no point thinking about a problem that hasn't happened yet. You'll just get stressed out trying to control the things you don't have control over, and, at the end of the day, you become a paranoid and stressed person. The only thing I have to do right now is to learn more about this world and about the changes in myself. After all, I'm still a newborn, a little fish that has just been born in a new lake." "Yes," Violet agreed. I reach up to Violet's ear and say, "I tested in my room that the cross of Jesus doesn't affect me, so am I immune?" "You are not immune to church attacks. What you have in your room is just a normal item. The items used by the church are blessed by the Pope himself, the closest figure to God we have in this world. The source of this content is wuxiax.com. "So does God exist?" I asked curiously. "I don't know, but I think so. After all, those weapons affect us." Violet replies, a little confused, "Church, huh?" I can't help but think out of curiosity. The church has been active for millennia, so this organization that works for the church must have a lot of influence in the world. "Lady Violet, will you accept my request?" Lucy asked. Violet looks at Lucy and replies, "No, this is my territory and I don't accept other vampires. Even if the Inquisition is here, I and my family can handle it." I think this decision is wrong. I don't have much knowledge of the overall situation, but one thing I can say is, I shouldn't trust Lucy. I get a tingling feeling every time I look at him. "Oh, I already know." "Honey, why don't you give our friend permission?" "Darling." Violet looks at me with questioning eyes. I just smile at her. She looks at me confused, but she nods, like she's telling me to do whatever I want. Isn't she cute? "Lucy, how many vampires do you intend to bring into my wife's territory?" I look at Lucy. He evaluates me for a few seconds and responds, 50 vampires. "Oh, that's too much. Are they all your offspring?" "Yes, they are my slaves." "I see, you want to protect yourself from the Inquisition, right? We accept your request, you can bring the vampires, but..." I look at Kaguya, who was behind the sofa, and say a few words. Then Kaguya nods and disappears. A few seconds later Kaguya comes back with the city map in hand. I place the map on the table in front of me, and with the pencil Kaguya also brought, I make a big circle on the map. "Keep your minions out of this circle," I said while showing a circle on the region map. This circle surrounds Violet's mansion and my house, which for some reason was quite close to this mansion. Lucy looks at the circle on the map and nods his head. He looks at Violet for a few seconds as if asking permission. Violet nods her head in agreement. Soon, He got up from the couch and extended his hand. "Thank you very much, Lord Victor. I am indebted to your generosity." Did I flash a smile and get up from the couch? Don't worry, friends were meant to be helped, right? I look at his hand and shake it in a friendly gesture. I suddenly feel like he put more strength in his handshake. It feels like he's trying to break my hand, but he doesn't have enough strength. Isn't he an older vampire? He must be strong, right? Well, he asked for it. My smile grows unevenly, my sharp teeth start to show, and soon I just put a little more strength in my grip. Crack. His hand is shattered, but everyone ignores it except Violet, who was looking at Lucy as if she were looking at a dead man walking. Lucy looks at his hand for a moment, then he looks at Violet. Until another day, Lady Violet. Violet didn't say anything, she just nodded her head softly. Soon Kaguya escorts the two guests out of the mansion. That I sit down on the couch again, and Violet climbs into my lap. "What are you planning?" she asked as she wrapped her arms around my neck. Visit to wuxiax.com. Discover new novels. Bait, Lucy is my worm that will attract the big fish. Violet opens her eyes a little and then she flashes a smile. "Aren't you getting used to this vampire thing a little too quickly?" "Meh, vampires are no different from humans. After all, they were once human." I reply, then I continue. "When I went to my mother's work in the past, I learned a few things from the politicians my mother defended in court. Lies and truth are a fine line. Politicians have to live telling lies to get the jobs they have today. Lucy, he's a lot like these politicians. He's a scared fox. He wants to take advantage of every situation. You should know him better than me." Violet nods. "Lucy is a vampire who specializes in bringing food to noble vampires. He has good ties to noble families." "By food, you mean humans?" Violet spoke mercilessly. "So that's why the Inquisition is here. They are after Lucy." It seems that using Lucy as bait was a good idea. I need to know the capabilities of this human organization, and though I can ask Violet to tell me, that would be useless. There is a big difference between seeing one person's capabilities in person, and someone else telling you about it. I just nodded my head in agreement with Violet's words, but I felt a weird incongruity in my chest. Common sense is that I should care about this. After all, they're human beings, right? But why don't I feel anything? It's the same feeling as when I see a newspaper or television. You know people are hurting but you don't care. I think seeing and experiencing tragedy is very different from just knowing it through someone else's mouth, huh? Normally, noble vampires don't need human blood. Huh? I don't understand now. Isn't that against everything being a vampire is? Violet looks at me. "You can suck blood from humans if you want, but that won't quench your thirst. The noble species are a very strong type of vampire and, because of that, we need more blood than normal vampires. To avoid of us having to cause a mass genocide, we ask the witches to do a ritual where when we get married so we will quench our thirst with our partner." Oh, that's why when I went crazy, I'd rather drink Violet's blood than those men. But there are vampires who get bored drinking their wife's blood all the time. Because of that, vampires like Lucy exist. They kidnap humans and take them to the noble vampires who want to taste new flavors. Got it, vampires are treating humans like cattle, huh? Witches. For some reason, I smell trouble a mile away when it comes to witches. Witches? I question Violet. I really know next to nothing about this world, huh? Although some things are similar to movies. Witches are human women who, for some reason, acquire an energy called magic. They use that magic to alter some things related to nature. Do you remember the magic circle you saw in my memories? I nod in agreement. They were also created by the witches at the request of the ancient vampires. They'll do anything for money, they're mercenaries. If you pay the right price, they'll do anything for you. Heh, mercenary witches. Interesting. I flashed a small smile as I started to stroke Violet's hair. I feel Violet squirm in my arms, but I keep stroking her hair. Violet's hair is my favorite type of hair for women, long hair so I can stroke it as many times as I want. I feel like I will never get bored doing this. Soon, Kaguya returns accompanied by Natalia, the blonde-haired maid. I also see that the vampires that were hiding in the fake walls were all in the basement now. Lord Victor, I think that is enough. If you continue I think Lady Violet will die. Kagaya spoke in a neutral, emotionless tone, but for some reason, I could feel she was joking. I look at Violet and see that she was a flushed mess, her breathing was ragged and she was looking at me with obsessive eyes. But I did not do anything. I just caressed her. Looking out the window, I saw it was dawn. I have to go to college, updated from WeaktoStrong. Looks like I have to go back. I said out loud, hearing my voice. Violet quickly wakes up from her drunken state, and looks at me. You want to go back? But what's the point of studying now? You're my husband, and everything mine is yours. You just have to live here with me. That I look at Violet. Calm down, I don't want to be a parasite that depends on my wife. I mean, it would be nice to let you be my sugar mama, but I'm a vampire, not a degenerate. Why are you going back to college then? Violet asked a little calmer. Honestly, I was studying economics in order to get a degree and somehow help my family. After all, my family situation is not the same as when I was 15. I answer honestly, then I continue. I even got a job at McDonald's that pays me $15 an hour. I used that money to pay for my college, but I look at my hand, I focus my feelings on my pale hand. Now that's not necessary. There are several ways to make money with my current condition. And I'm not willing to abandon my family. If I'm not close to my mom, she'll get bored. After all, with her personality she wouldn't make many friends. I laughed a little when I thought of my mom. Though I became a vampire, I don't intend to abandon my family and friends. I'm not going to act like an emo, and say that I'm going to put my family in danger, and because of that, I need to abandon them. I may have changed my race, but I'm me, I make my own decisions. And, since I know there's a way I can't go crazy from bloodlust, the worry of hurting my family is practically non-existent. So you go to college just because you want to? Violet asked me confused. Yes, I'm going to quit my job and go to college to enjoy school life a little. Because of my illness, I've always lived in fear of trying too hard. Because of my illness, I couldn't enjoy much of my life, but that's not an obstacle anymore. I said honestly. I always wanted to play sports, I always wanted to swim, to play basketball, but because of my illness I couldn't do that kind of activity. I look at Violet. Don't you want to come with me? Huh. Well, I want to introduce you to my family. You are my wife, right? You have to meet my family and friends. That I plan to invite her to live with me since, if Violet comes to live with me, there will be few things that threaten my family's life. After all, these vampires seem to obey Violet's every word. If she is living with me, that will ensure that my family is protected. Violet displays a happy smile and starts hugging me again. I laugh and start stroking her head. She looks so happy. Yes. I'll go with you. In fact, I'm going to live with you. Let's go. She spoke happily as she got up and pulled me somewhere. Well, it looks like I don't need to ask her to move in with me, she did it herself. I thought as I smiled satisfied. Wait. I spoke in a neutral tone. Violet looked at me. If you want to live with me, you have to promise to protect my family. Oh, is that it? That is something easy to do. Few people would dare to mess with my family. She said smiling, then she continued. My family is your family too, right? We are married. Of course, I would protect your family. She spoke with a proud smile. I can't help stroking this woman's head. Isn't she very beautiful? Lady Violet was manipulated, right? Kagaya whispered in a not-so-low voice. Yes, and probably, she doesn't even care about it, Natalia replied. Sigh, we're lost. What if Lord Victor decides to get his hands on us? Kagaya spoke in a neutral tone with exaggerated gestures. I doubt that would happen. He seems to have no interest in us, and Violet would probably kill us if that happened, Natalia replied again in a flat tone. True, a stalker's love is something difficult to understand, Kagaya said. Shoo, don't say that. What if someone hears you? Natalia spoke in a louder voice. Visit WeaktoStrong for a better experience. Are these women right in the head? Chapter 6. The most normal parents in the world. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. February 2nd, the day after Victor discovered the changes in his body, I was walking towards my house with Violet clinging to my arm with a really big smile on her face. Currently, only one thing concerns me: how the hell am I going to explain the changes in my body to my mom? I look into the mirrored window of a building next to me. I was 175 cm before I became a vampire. I was a very thin young man who looked very anemic, but when I became a vampire I grew 5 cm in height. I'm 180 centimeters tall now with more defined muscles that stand out a little in the outfit I'm wearing. My pale skin has turned a paler shade than it was before, while my black hair and blue eyes have taken on a brighter shade. Overall, I looked the same as before, with the only differences being that my body grew and my skin turned paler. By the way, I was wearing casual clothes, a loose black shirt and black pants along with white sneakers from a famous brand. Violet was wearing a black dress. It was a closed-neck sleeveless dress made of leather. The dress was a little short, reaching up to her beautiful thighs, almost showing the flesh of her ass. For a moment I think I actually drooled. It was very sexy, especially glued to her body with her perfect curves. When she saw my gaze she displayed a seductive smile as if everything went according to plan. According to my wife Violet, the vampire transformation forces the body to its peak state and, as I am a newborn, these changes will only stop happening when my body is fully developed. She said that usually, it takes a week for the body to stop constantly evolving. I look at the clock on my phone and it's currently 7 in the morning. Normally this wasn't the time for vampires to be awake, but Violet and I were special, so we just looked like a tourist couple from the North Pole or from some other area of the coldest parts of the planet. Although I don't know if civilization exists at the North Pole, why do Violet and I look like tourists? Well, our pale skin color draws a lot of attention and, to my limited knowledge, humans who live in snowy areas of the planet tend to have paler skin color, I think. I'm not sure, I wasn't the brightest student in geography at school. Anyway, we look like two tourists who have come from a very cold place. After all, no one would believe that two vampires are walking around in broad daylight. When Violet and I stopped at a location that she was interested in, the salesperson asked if I was a tourist, and I said yes. I also said that we lived in a really icy area. Surprisingly, he agreed with my words easily. Well, I live in the United States of America, so I guess tourists around here are normal. And Violet? I look at my wife. She seems to be having fun. She seems to consider walking back to my house as some sort of date or something. Apparently, she hasn't left the house for a few years. She told me this by accident, and, because of that, she's curious about everything. She looks like a curious kitten. If anything catches her attention she stops walking and moves toward it. Then, if she finds something interesting, she buys it and asks Kaguya, who is accompanying us, to take it. She was like a princess who went to the mall and bought everything she saw and liked. Rich people are different. It wasn't until Kaguya came out into the sun that I found out she was from the same family as Violet. Apparently, she's from a family dedicated to serving Violet's family. She didn't explain much to me about it. An interesting thing about Kaguya is that she is a vampire who only inherited immunity to the sun. She doesn't have control of Violet's fire element. She seems to have an ability called shadows. Basically she becomes one with a shadow and can walk in the shadows. This is a very broken skill. She can pretty much kill anyone at night. Ugh, Lady Violet. You are buying too many things. The thin arms of this helpless young woman can't take it. I wonder if there is any man who can help me. Kaguya spoke in a neutral tone as she looked at me with bright eyes. Who do you think you are kidding, woman? You. Helpless? Is this some kind of joke? I just turn my face away and ignore Kaguya. TSK. Did I hear a TSK just now? Shouldn't this woman be calm and cool or something? Is her mask falling off? Ha ha ha, I'm glad you're getting along with Kaguya, but... Violet looks at Kaguya. Don't get too close, okay? That she spoke with an emotionless face. I could see it was just a simple warning, but that it contained many meanings I didn't understand. Kaguya, who was carrying Violet's bags, spoke in the same neutral tone. It's because he broke the rules. Kaguya looks at me and says, Rule number 4 of being a vampire, never reveal that you are a vampire to humans. Matters involving the vampire world should not be mixed with human affairs. This rule can be ignored if the vampire is contacting a human with the intention of turning the same human into a vampire. If he breaks this rule, he'll be hunted by the nobles and killed. After all, we don't like to draw too much attention. Said the woman who was dressed as a maid while carrying several purchases. If that's not attracting attention, what is? But, I understood what she was saying. This rule was basically a warning to younger vampires: don't make too much of a fuss about vampires, or we'll go after you. They were basically saying that. Soon Violet comes back carrying a big bear and with a happy face. I can't help but pat her head when I see her like this. Feeling my caresses, she shows a happy smile. Then I say, come on, we're almost there. The two women nod in agreement. Arriving at my house, I open the door. Mom, I'm home. I spoke out loud. Victor. Son, why didn't you answer the phone? I was getting. She trails off as she looks at me standing in the doorway along with two women. Victor. She approaches me suspiciously. I look at my mom. She's going to be 40 this year. She has a little belly fat, but, overall, her appearance is well preserved: long black hair, blue eyes, and a curvy body. She keeps saying that lawyers who look good have a better chance of getting rich clients. My mother's clients in the past were politicians with questionable resumes. They called these politicians fat lambs, and she defended these politicians in exchange for large amounts of money. She not only defended politicians, she defended normal people and even companies that had suffered because of fraud, etc. She's a good lawyer. Even if she defended corrupt politicians, in the end, it doesn't matter. After all, work is work. Does she defend corrupt politicians? Yes, but the money is good, and she's not doing anything illegal. Even though she stopped doing it a long time ago, it was getting dangerous to work in that world. Because of that decision she made in the past, she doesn't win as much money as she had before. Strange. She spoke with a confused face. Then she continued, I feel that you are my son, but at the same time, I feel that you have changed too much to be my son. She is still honest as always. She was standing in front of me looking at me with a face that said, you can't fool me. Sigh, when I was 13, you and I went out to a restaurant. We met your ex-friend, that woman you called Thought. I started to speak. What is her name? She asked. Aphrodite. I know her name is Renata, but my mom dubbed her Aphrodite. That is still not enough. She spoke as if she hadn't lost a battle or something like that. On my 21st birthday, you took me outside a brothel and said you'd dump me in that place if I didn't find a girlfriend. Violet suddenly looked at my mom for a moment. She seemed undecided about what to do. Her eyes were glowing dangerously, but soon the light seemed to fade. It looked like she was going through an internal conflict. Cough. Follow new episodes on the WuxiaX.com platform. My mother pretended to cough. Yes, you are definitely my son. By the way, you shouldn't say that out loud. What will people think of me if they find out I almost gave away my son's cherry just because I wanted my son to have a girlfriend? She spoke with a snort. My eyes start to twitch when I hear what my mom says, but I can't help but smile in happiness. My mom is weird, but she's a good mom. She's not normal like all moms of the world, but she is my mother and I love her very much as a son. She approaches me and says, you're paler than usual. Do you need food? And it looks like you've grown too. She puts her hand on her head and starts trying to measure my height by comparing her height with mine. Then my mother's height is around 170 cm. She is a little shorter than my old height before being turned into a vampire, which was 175 cm. It's puberty, Mom. I said the excuse every man ever has told his mother at least once in his life. Puberty. She repeated what I said with distrust. She looks at Violet and Kaguya. Seeing how beautiful both women were, my mother started to enter her own world again. Holy shit. You popped your cherry and because of it you grew. Kaya. Wait a moment. I'll call your father. Suddenly she starts running towards the stairs. She puts both hands close to her mouth like she has to call someone. Leon. Get down here immediately. I mean it. Get your lazy, fat belly down here now. She screamed. Because of my new senses, I heard this scream louder than it should have been, and from Kaguya and Violet's stunned expressions I can tell they had the same reaction as me. What is it, woman? I am watching a movie. I still have to work later. I want to finish this movie before I go to work. Our son lost his cherry and brought two beautiful girls home. What? Wait a moment. I am on my way. Violet and Kaguya look at me. I try to keep my poker face as much as possible to hide my embarrassment. Yes. Let's think about dolphins. Dolphins are beautiful beings, and they have the intelligence of a human, As expected, dolphins should be the rulers of humanity. As I hypnotize myself, my dad started down the stairs. When he appears in front of me, he looks at Kaguya and Violet, then he nods at me satisfied. As expected of my son, the Mason genes are running through your veins. You've got two beautiful girls. One oriental and one with a noble appearance. I was worried that you would be a virgin forever, that he totally ignored my appearance, didn't he? Ugh, for some reason I have a headache, although I shouldn't have a headache, since I'm a vampire and vampires have regenerative bullshit or something. I look at my dad, he's turning 50 this year, he has brown hair and black eyes, he is 183 cm tall with a beer belly and muscular arms, he was wearing shorts and a white t-shirt, he's a bricklayer, he works in construction. Nowadays he's retired but he still goes to where he works to give advice or something, I don't really know for sure. I just know he's retired, but for some reason he says he's going to work. I guess old habits don't change, huh? Cough. I give a fake cough and go, Violet, this is my dad Leon Walker, and this is my mom Anna Walker, I say as I introduce my parents. Nice to meet you, Violet says while performing in her noblewoman's mask. You can find the rest of this content on the wuxiax.com platform. Mom and Dad, this beautiful white-haired woman is Violet, she is my wife, and this black-haired woman is her personal maid, huh? Chapter 7 Daughter-in-Law. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this point, I was in my house sitting on a relatively large and cheap couch, not that I care about anything like that, and Violet was sitting next to me while Kaguya was behind me holding the bear Violet had bought while she put away everything else that was Violet's behind the couch. Right now I was thinking about the decisions I made about my family and, seeing the result, I think I made the right decision. My family is strange, but I love my parents very much and, if possible, I don't want to hide anything from them. I know the vampire world isn't something ordinary humans can handle and, because of that, I made a deal with Violet to just keep the vampire world a secret, but that's only temporary. After all, I know this kind of secret will bite my ass in the future. I learned a lot from reading hero comics. They always had this bullshit attitude of hiding things and, in the end, someone important to the hero died, but, I need to learn more about the world of vampires. When I'm ready, I will talk to my parents about this world then. After all, I want to give them this gift, too, immortality. It's something everyone wants, and my parents are no exception, I guess, and, I don't want to be alone forever. I know I would have my wife, but I can't imagine living without my bundle of joy that I call Mom. I would miss my father too, and his company when I watch movies. Well, no use thinking about it now, this is something for the future. So, you're saying you've been in contact with Violet for several years and, just recently, you guys met and started dating? My mother, Anna, asked in disbelief. Wrong, we became husband and wife. Violet spoke with a noble smile. You skipped the boyfriend stage and went straight to the wedding, are you sure about that, son? My dad asked, and I knew what he was thinking when he asked that question. He was probably thinking something like, you're so young. You've got a lot of fish in your net to catch, are you sure you want to commit now? Marriage is not a good thing, you know. I'm pretty sure he was thinking about it since we've had this kind of conversation in the past, although I'm absolutely sure he said it just for the sake of it. After all, his happy smile has never left his face. Yes, we have been dating online for about 3 years now and, when we first met, it was like love at first sight. I'm sure I want to be with her forever. I say with a small smile as I confirm the story Violet and I created. Violet's noble mask starts to break into pieces and she starts to smile happily. As soon as she hugs me tighter, my mother looks at Violet and shakes her head several times as if she has understood something. I've taught you many times not to be a simp, and you've been chasing this cute girl for 3 years? My son, if you liked her, you should talk on the first day. You shouldn't wait for 3 years. My smile starts to crack and my eyes start to twitch. Woman, I said, forget about those topics. Simp. You are being infected over the internet. Forget that word for the love of all gods. I practically yelled, my mom is always up to date with useless stuff, seriously. Should I cancel this house's internet? It's better that I not. If I do that maybe my mother will die. My mom just looks at me and sticks out her tongue, she looks like a kid. It's because of that jovial attitude that she doesn't have older friends. Wait, I think Travis' mom is her friend. Travis is my childhood friend who lives 2 houses away from where I live. My dad was dead serious, he looked like a politician who was about to make an important decision. Of course, that politician's important decision was probably about stealing income from a children's school, or stealing from another politician. So, did you or didn't you? Father. Did you or didn't you? You know what I'm talking about, penetration of the sacred cave, drowning the goose, letting the dragon drink the divine nectar, double cultivation, etc. There are several names. No need to be ashamed, at the end of the day, this is a normal act. No matter what society says, the act of drowning the goose is not a sin. He looked like a wise man right now, looks like he's reached nirvana or something. My mom suddenly gets up and hits him on the head. Stop embarrassing our son, what if he loses his wife over this? Do you know how difficult it will be for him to get another woman? Do not screw it up, mother. You don't have any confidence in me, huh? My dad makes an apologetic face. My mom looks at me. And? Did you or didn't you? Follow new episodes on the wuxiax.com platform. Woman, did you forget what you said a few seconds ago? That thing about not embarrassing me? Ugh. Can we just forget about it at once? Don't you have any other questions to ask? I spoke with a desperate face. The two look at each other and shrug. We don't. Huh. Now I'm confused. Victor, you're 21 years old, you're an adult and your mom and I have confidence in you. We always think you've got your head in the right place, you were never like other teenagers and you never gave us any problems, so we trust your decision. Father, Mom. I didn't know they thought of me that way, for some reason, this trust made me happier. And? Did you do it? The two asked at the same time. My smile threatened to break now. Yes, we did. Violet replied with an amused smile. Violet. Looking at her embarrassed face, I understood that she was confusing the act of sucking blood with sex. They both look at me in disbelief, then they flashed the biggest smile I've ever seen in my life. Did you hear that, honey? They did it. We have to buy fireworks. Let's go out now. My mom suddenly ran upstairs. Hey, wait for me. I have to buy the biggest fireworks I can, let's celebrate. This is a happy occasion. Damn, I wish it was Saturday, I could have a barbecue. My dad got up and ran after my mom. Soon the two come down with clothes and with the car keys in hand. We'll be back soon, take care. And don't do anything your dad and I wouldn't. My mom said and winked at me. It was pretty obvious that she was hinting at me to do something. I just looked at it all in disbelief. When my mom and my dad left in the car, I looked at the door for a few seconds and started laughing. I really love my family. Lord Victor's family is. Kaguya spoke. Weird? I would say amusing, but the gentleman is the one who said that. Kaguya replied, dismayed. Somehow, it makes me a little jealous. My mom and dad would never talk to each other like that. Violet spoke with a sad little smile. They've spent so much time together they can't stand to see each other's faces. That I touch Violet's head and start stroking her head. We won't be like that, right? She spoke looking at me. She touched my other hand, and I could feel she was shaking a little. I don't know, I answered honestly while stroking Violet's hair. Then I continued, I may not be very experienced, but I can say something. Relationships are a two-way street. If we strive to make it right, I believe that it will work. I don't think I'll ever regret turning you into a vampire, Victor. But there's one thing I'll always regret. Follow current novels on WeaktoStrong. What is it? I asked, curious. She squeezes my other hand tighter. I should have stopped those two bitches from being close to the ritual. She spoke in a poisonous tone that carried a lot of hate. Two bitches. Is she talking about those voices? Why didn't she want them both close to the ritual? I look at Kaguya, and she shakes her head in a gesture that says she won't say anything. I look at Violet and see her with a murderous expression. I don't know what's going on, but one thing I'm sure of, if a woman is insecure, you must show confidence that everything will be fine. Advice from my mother. Don't worry, Violet. She looks at me confused. I move closer to her face, and then I kiss her. She is surprised for a moment, but soon she kisses me back. But, since we're both inexperienced, our teeth bump into each other. We both stopped kissing and looked at each other, and soon started to laugh a little. Don't worry about things you can't control, it will cause you stress. I recommend you enter the school of Stoicism, it will help you a lot. Stoicism? What is it? Violet asked. It's a philosophical doctrine that emerged in Greece in the 4th century, some of its teachings are quite useful. I said, a little joking and a little serious. Violet looks at Kaguya. Kaguya nods and then she disappears. For a moment I saw her running towards the door. She probably went to buy a book or something. I'm slowly getting used to Kaguya's speed, but I still can't follow her with my eyes. But two bitches, huh? As I expected, more things happened after I bit Violet. I can think of two things that happened. I bit the other two female voices like I did with Violet, which I think is very unlikely. After all, Violet said the ritual can only be done by one person, or those two voices did something to me. I'm inclined to believe this one since Violet is quite protective of me, and I don't remember what happened in the ritual either. Well, it's no use thinking about it too much now. I'll just keep this in mind until I find out more. I have to sort out more important things now. Currently, I am at the university. Before going to the university, I passed my job and resigned from Mtlnovel. I plan to earn money in a more practical way. I will rob thieves. Think about it, if you have the power of a superhuman, what will you work for? Be a good law-abiding citizen. PFF, the politicians themselves are the ones who steal the most, and they are the people who run this town. They just don't get caught, because they know how to hide their tracks. So if I steal from a thief who stole from someone else, am I not a good person? Of course the money would be mine, and I wouldn't pay that money back or anything like that, but, before that, I need three things. First, I need a fake SSN, a fake ID, and a fake bank account. As I don't know about this, I will ask Violet or Kaguya, they must know something. Second, I need a black mask. Third, I need a black uniform as cringe as possible. Those clothes that could only exist in anime like Tokyo Vampire or something like that. I need to make a persona, a thief who steals from other thieves. Fourth, this is optional, I need some music. Imagine from John Lennonville. Why do I need this song? No reason, and the sound of the piano soothes me too. I plan to listen to it while I'm at college. First, I will rob thieves and make easy money, then I will put this money in a bank in a tax haven. By doing this several times, I can solve my money problems. Follow new episodes on the WeaktoStrong platform. I could make it easier, I could just charm all the corrupt politicians and thieves etc. But I will avoid doing that for now. After all, I believe the Inquisition has something that can track vampires. That's not too hard to deduce assuming they hunt vampires. Honestly, this organization would be flawed from the start if they had no means of tracking down vampires. For now, I just need money. When I get money, I will think about what to do next. I'm at college alone. Violet is at my house. She said something about renovation or something. Before she left, I had to unfortunately. I almost cry blood when I think about it again. Cough. Unfortunately, I had to delete my hardest game ever folder. More than 2 terabytes of videos were deleted. I cried blood when I hit the delete key on my computer. But it's all for the greater good. Yes, it's all for the greater good. I keep repeating that sentence in my head like it's a mantra. I can't have Violet finding out about that folder. Goodbye bachelor life, goodbye my porn. As I walked around the university, I noticed that people were looking at me differently. Before, They just looked at me and ignored me, but now, they're looking at me with a shocked face, and sometimes they let out a sigh of disbelief. Hey, do you know him? A woman spoke in a low voice to her friend. He looks familiar, but at the same time he doesn't look familiar. The friend replied. He looks hot. I heard it from somewhere. I still think the captain of the basketball team is better. A woman says, well, I've changed a lot. Anyway, I walk towards my classroom but suddenly stop when I hear the sound of a basketball. Is our team playing today? I was curious. I am thinking about what to do now, but, as I had decided that I just wanted to have fun at college, I decided to go to the basketball court. I was always interested in playing basketball, before I couldn't because of my disease, but now. I clench my fist and the sound of bursting air is heard all around. Huh? What is that? Several people started to question. Did it look like something broke? A man said. Let's check the lab. Another man spoke, while ignoring the little chaos I caused. I wore a predatory smile. Now I can play basketball. I walked to the basketball court and, upon arriving at the basketball court, I see the university team playing a friendly match with the reserve players from the same university. They must be training. I pull my black sunglasses out of my pocket and put them on my face and, as soon as I activate my vision, my world turns red. I don't know why I do it, but it's kind of become a habit when I smell some weird smell, and when I walked into this court I could smell something. I don't know why my sense of smell is more developed than normal vampires, but Violet just said I was special. Specifically speaking, my blood was special, the Rh blood. Who would have thought that the blood that gave me so much trouble would benefit me in the future? Life is ironic for sure. Suddenly my vision focused on a silhouette that had a red glowing mark on its neck. Yes, it looks like there's a vampire inside. I undo my red eyesight and take off my glasses, and it turns out that the person who is the vampire is the captain of the basketball team. Good, just the person I hate the most. You can find the rest of this content on the wuxiax.com platform. Chapter 8 Grudges from the Past. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Juan Davis, the captain of my high school basketball team. If you asked me which person I hate the most, I would name this man. Because of my illness, I was always in an anemic state, but that doesn't mean I couldn't do physical activities. In the past, when I was 20 years old, I was supervised by a physical educator who was my friend and, with his help, I could do light exercise. I've always had a craving since I was a teenager. I wanted to play sports. Do you know what it feels like to want to swim, play basketball, run, exercise, and not be able to? Because of my illness, I couldn't exert myself too much because if I tried too hard, I would pass out. In some of the worst cases, if I tried too hard, I would spend a week in bed at the hospital, but, despite that, my doctor said I could do light exercise, and for me, that was enough. I just wanted to get a basketball and play a little, even if I was alone, but this man. Juan Davis, he wouldn't leave me alone. Every time I trained, every time I tried hard at something, he would come towards me and say, "This is pathetic. Why is a loser like you striving for something useless? You should just stay in a hospital bed." And, right after that, he hit me and threw me to the ground while saying that I shouldn't have been born, that I was just a burden to my mother, the classic bullying that you can see in any American movie. He didn't hurt me too much, he just pushed me and told me I was useless while also saying that my mother shouldn't have given birth to me. But, I still wouldn't give up. I wasn't doing it for him, I was doing it for me. However, with time, I started to hate him. I accepted him talking about myself. It doesn't affect me so much, but my mother. That is unforgivable. I knew that what I was doing was useless and that my condition didn't allow me to exercise, but he was the person who kept reminding me of how useless I was. If there's one good thing about this situation, it's that I never cried or showed any weakness. I can be physically weak, but I refuse to cry in front of anyone. I refuse to show weakness. There's a glaring difference between being bullied and accepting bullying. I never accepted what happened to me, but unfortunately, I couldn't do anything. One day I tried to report this to the director, but the director just ignored it, so I did what any sane person would do. I gave up practicing and waited for an opportunity to get revenge. Unfortunately, that opportunity never came, someone was supporting Juan Davis and I didn't know who it was. I didn't want to tell my parents either. After all, that was my problem. It was about my pride. I had to solve it myself. Looking at Luan, I can see the vampire mark with my vision that I call vampiric vision. When I saw that brand, I understood everything. He had support. Precisely speaking, the support was from the master of this man. A noble vampire. Why did I deduct this? Luan was just a boy who suffered from a disease that made his muscles weak, but, for some reason, everyone forgot about it, and he got better all of a sudden. I had forgotten about it too. Wrong. It would be wiser to say that Luan's support was none other than a vampire, and I, as an ordinary human, couldn't do anything against that force. But now things were different. I see the basketball bouncing and stopping in front of me. "Hey, you! Throw the ball over here!" Someone yelled at me. I look at the ball and a smile appears on my face. I catch the ball in my hand and I start to bounce the ball on the ground as I walk slowly towards the court. When I get close to the court, I position myself for a toss and I throw the ball like an experienced basketball player. The ball travels across the court and lands directly in the basket. Everyone who saw this display of precision looked at me with disbelieving looks. What I did was impossible for the average human, but it's not totally impossible. NBA players can do it with a lot of practice, but I just used my vision combined with my vampire senses, and for me, that was pretty easy. To be honest, I didn't need to position myself to throw the basketball, but if I didn't it would be pretty weird, right? "Victor." I heard a voice in disbelief. I look at the man. He is 190 centimeters tall with light brown hair and brown eyes. He had a delinquent rebel look, boasting a muscular body and a sharp look. The latest episodes are on the WeaktoStrong website. "Hey, Juan. Did you miss me? Is that Victor? The skinny one? What happened to him?" A player standing next to Juan asked out loud. I flashed a smile that for a moment showed my sharp fangs. Those with low senses couldn't see it, but, "Juan, I'm sure he did." I walked calmly towards Juan. 379 days. I spoke with an irritated growl. It's been 379 days since the moment you decided I was a good punching bag. As I walked towards Luan, the players on the court started to get out of my way. They felt an invisible pressure forcing them to move. It was like if they didn't get out of the way something really bad would happen to them. I'm a very mean person, you know. I can't let grudges be washed away by the river of time. As my father always said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, punch for punch. And, now it would be something like blood for blood. I stopped in front of Luan and looked up slightly. He was a little taller than me, and, as always, he had that cocky look on his face like he was superior to everyone. I don't like that. "Heh, what do you intend to do? You're just a humble..." Luan tried to say something. I gently place a hand on Luan's shoulder, and with a forceful gesture, I bring him to his knees. Crack. The ground around him broke like a spider's web. Ah. Yes, that's the vision I wanted, that look of disbelief, that look of someone who thought he was on top only to be taken off his imaginary throne. But that's not enough. My smile starts to grow. I lower my head and approach Luan. Slowly, my smile starts to grow erratically. Slowly, my teeth, like shark fangs, start to show. And, slowly, with a ragged smile that almost borders on insanity, I say, "You had fun, right? Treating me like crap. Hitting me, saying I was useless. Bad-mouthing my mom. It was fun, right? I bet it was. After all, you always had a smile while doing it, right? It was like you were playing with an insect that could break at any moment, right?" That I put some strength in my hand and I felt his shoulder break. "But I ask you, now what?" That I must give Luan credit. He didn't show any expression when he felt his shoulder being broken. Looking at my fangs and my bloodshot eyes, he understood that I was just like him, and soon an angry growl came out of him. "You're just a newborn." He tried to get up, but he just stayed where he was. He didn't expect me to have that much strength. "Who gave you permission to get up?" He looked at me with a shocked face that made my smile grow wider and wider. "Luan, is everything okay there?" someone asked. "Why yes, we're just talking." The latest episodes are on the WeaktoStrong website. Hearing the students' murmurs, I click my tongue, annoyed, and release Luan. My expression is back to normal, my teeth back to normal, and my eyes back to their bright blue. Now that I am calmer, I thought, this place has a lot of people. I walk over to the basketball and pick it up. Let's settle this the old-fashioned way. After all, we're not barbarians, right? I commented with a small smile. I notice his shoulder has already healed. As expected from vampire regeneration, I threw the ball to Juan. When Juan caught it, the force of the ball made him slide away from where he was. It just demonstrated once again how much stronger I was, even for a vampire who has been transformed for more than 1 year like Juan. I think my blood has given me some unexpected benefits, huh? 1-on-1, I said while holding up my finger. Whoever scores 7 points wins. Each ball in the basket is worth 1 point. In case of a tie, we continue to play until a player has 2 points more than the opponent. Simple, right? I spoke with a small innocent smile. Huh? Why are you coming in here and treating it like the court is yours? A player spoke. I just looked at the player with a disinterested look. He was 160 cm and looked like a very active teenager. The player started to boil with anger when he saw my gaze. When he was going to start screaming again, Juan said. Okay, let's play. Juan gets up and that arrogance that I had eliminated in the previous conflict comes back stronger. Heh, yes. That's how it's supposed to be. He has to act. It can't break that easily. I won't be satisfied otherwise. It was decided that the judge would be a player who was too small to play on the basketball team. The two opponents used the entire court. On one side was Victor, a former aspiring basketball player, and on the other side was Juan, the captain of the basketball team. What is happening? Asked a red-haired woman. Hearing the woman's question, a man quickly turned around and replied, apparently, the captain of the basketball team is going 1-on-1 with an aspiring basketball player. They seem to have a history together. Said another woman who was nearby. What do you mean? What happened? Asked the red-headed woman. When that man arrived, the woman pointed at Victor. He immediately got into conflict with the captain of the basketball team. It looks like the captain of the basketball team was bullying, or something, that man with the blue eyes. Oh. The red-haired woman looks at the captain of the basketball team with a dangerous look. Isn't he that idiot servant? The red-haired woman thought. But what are you doing here, Ruby? Shouldn't you be in med school on the other side of the building? Answers the woman while looking at Ruby. Ruby is a red-headed woman. She has long red hair that reaches her waist, green eyes, and pale skin like she's running out of blood. She's wearing a red sweatshirt with black jeans and athletic sneakers. She is a little shorter than the girl who was talking to her, around 175 cm tall. Ruby has a curvy body that can't be hidden by the baggy clothes she was wearing, and what's most impressive about Ruby's appearance is her breasts, which appear to be too big. This is also one of the reasons why she wears baggy clothes. She doesn't like people looking at her breasts. Visit wuxiax.com for a better experience. Oh, I heard a commotion and I came here to see what was going on, Ruby said as she went up the bleachers. She looked at Victor for a long time until she unconsciously grabbed her neck. Who do you think will win? The woman next to Ruby asked. Ruby lets go of her neck and sits down calmly. I don't know. She spoke honestly. They won't use their powers here, right? Ruby suddenly looks at a spot and sees that spot is broken into a cobweb shape. She felt her eyes twitch when she saw that little wreckage, which was obviously done by the two newborns on the basketball court. Miss Ruby, it's a surprise to see you here. Suddenly a blonde man with green eyes appeared. Coincidence? Of course, it wasn't a coincidence, she thought disdainfully, but nothing showed on her expressionless face. Ruby looked at the blonde man. He looked like a typical middle-aged nobleman, tall, with blonde hair and green eyes. Ruby points to the place that was destroyed. The man follows Ruby's finger and watches it for a moment. I'll take care of it. He said in an annoyed tone. Who was the fool who caused this? TSK, it was probably my idiot of a dog. The blonde-haired man thought with annoyance. The man looks at Victor and Luan who have started to approach each other from the court. The man sits down next to Ruby. Whose newborn is this? He spoke while looking at Victor with a haughty look, but he had a feeling he'd already seen Victor somewhere. Ruby snorts in disdain when she sees the man's gaze, but she doesn't let it show on her face, she just responds in a neutral tone, he is the husband of the princess of the Snow Clan. Crack. Ruby looked at the spot and saw that the man had broken the bleachers a bit, she just looked at the man with a, "Are you serious?" look. She had just suggested not to attract attention and he did. I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the rotten tree, huh? Ruby thought as she associated the destruction on the court with the blonde man's subordinate. Ha ha ha, you have got to be kidding, right? A plebeian with the princess of Clan Snow? Has hell frozen over and I didn't know about it? Ha 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 ha. Ruby was tempted to further tease this man by saying that the Snow Clan princess wasn't the only one, but she was silent. Corneliu, I hope you punish your subordinate after this event, you know we don't like attention. Yes, of course. He will definitely be punished. The now-known man Corneliu spoke up. Ruby looked at Corneliu and saw that the expression was distorted with hatred. Did just learning that Violet has a husband cause him to go crazy like that? Men and their inflated egos, ridiculous. Ruby thought in disdain. As soon as the whistle blows, Ruby loses interest in Corneliu and looks at the court with neutral eyes. Visit to wuxiax.com. Discover new novels. Chapter 9. The only one who forgives is God. I don't. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The match was about to start. On one side was a pale man with bright blue eyes and dark black hair. He was wearing a red and white uniform with the number 69, it was a standard basketball player's uniform. While this man warmed up, women couldn't help but stare at the defined muscles of that man with a little lust in their eyes. Catching the girl's eyes, Victor looked around and thought, when did this become a show? Well, let's have fun. Victor displayed a toothy grin but, unlike before, those teeth weren't changing into shark-like teeth, it was just a normal smile that showed all of his white teeth. Suddenly Victor looks towards the bleachers. He could feel something in the bleachers calling to him, but he couldn't identify what it was. What are you doing, Lady Ruby? Corneliu asked Ruby, confused when he saw her suddenly duck. I am just picking up something that fell, Ruby replied neutrally, as she wondered, why did I hide? Why did I hide? You fool. Losing interest, Victor focused on his opponent, a tall man with brown hair and brown eyes. He looked like a delinquent. He was the man who made Victor's life hell for a year. The two men had unresolved issues and Victor wasn't planning on leaving the waters of times to wash away his grudge. He's not such a saint that he could forgive this man easily. He's a vindictive man, as the saying goes, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, blood for blood. One just looked at Victor with a cocky smile, but he couldn't help but think about the things he did to Victor. Seeing how it came back to bite his ass in the future, he was wondering if the attitude he had in the past was right. I think I should have killed him when I had the chance. After all, at the time his blood smelled really good, he thought contemptuously. But despite thinking about it, he knew he couldn't kill someone. He wasn't prepared to take this step forward. For Luan, his master's blood is enough. When the judge throws the ball up, Luan, who was close to Victor, whispered in a low voice, "Don't use your gifts." Victor snorted disdainfully and said in a low voice, "Tell that to yourself." The two jumped at the same time then hit the ball simultaneously. An intense exchange took place for a few seconds in the air, but soon the winner was decided. Victor throws the ball to the ground and it bounces in his favor. When he fell to the ground the noise was very loud. It was like a very heavy man fell on the court, but strangely, the ground did not break. The moment Victor falls to the ground, he runs at human speed towards the basketball, and as he catches the basketball in his hands, he turns and sees that Luan is already beside him. Victor smiles and starts dribbling the ball. He makes some gestures with his hands to try to trick the opponent, but Luan is an experienced captain, he wouldn't fall into that trap, and Victor knew that. Suddenly Victor brings the ball to Luan's face and drops the ball to the ground. In making this sudden action, Luan's attention was completely focused on the ball slowly falling to the ground, but, before the ball could land on the ground, a pale hand suddenly appeared and caught the ball. My God, did he fake out the team captain? Wow, I can't believe he fell for such a simple trick. Someone from the stand spoke up. When Luan hears this, he grits his teeth in frustration and turns to chase after Victor. Victor runs while dribbling the ball to the middle of the court, and when he entered the circle of the court, he suddenly jumped. Everyone just stared in shock as they watched a human jump from the middle of the court and slowly reach the basketball hoop and bury the ball. "Oh, hi!" the crowd roared excitedly. "That was a slam dunk. I can't believe I'm seeing a 21-year-old boy dunking. Damn, that was amazing. How is that possible? Is this humanly possible? Hey, what's his name?" Updated from WeaktoStrong, Victor, who was hanging from the rim of the basketball hoop, slowly broke free and fell to the ground. When he fell to the ground and turned around, he looked at Juan and saw that the man's expression was distorted with hate. It was too ugly to look at, but that expression filled Victor with satisfaction. Slowly a predatory smile began to form on his face. Humph, this newborn thinks highly of himself. Any vampire can do what he did. Ruby just looked at the blonde man like she was watching a rare creature. He totally forgot he was in a crowd of people, huh? Ruby looks at the girl who was next to her and, for a moment, her eyes turn blood red. "Ignore everything that man says, okay?" "Okay," the woman replied in a robotic tone. Ruby nods contentedly. Her eyes soon turn green, then she looks at Corneliu and says, "He's not using his gifts." Huh? Corneliu looks at Ruby. If he was using his gifts, the basketball court, the basketball hoop, and everything else would be destroyed. He's just using the ability of a trained human. It's quite impressive that he can control his strength so well, and I think he doesn't even realize what he's doing. Ruby compliments him, but Corneliu just snorted in disdain. All newborn vampires can do that, he's no big deal. He spoke in a normal voice. Oh. Can you tell me which newborn vampires can do this? I'm curious. Ruby's green eyes sparkled a little in curiosity. Corneliu was silent and ignored Ruby. "Idiot, that's why female vampires hate you. Your ego is the size of the world, but it's also very fragile. You look like a child." Ruby thought with disdain. "What about the agreement not to use your gifts?" Juan asked in a hateful voice. "I'm not using my gifts. I don't need to do something like that to defeat you." Victor spoke in disdain while maintaining an arrogant smile. Juan's face twists into hate. "We'll see if you don't need to use your powers," he said in a hateful tone. He seems to have totally forgotten what he said a few seconds ago. Again, both opponents were in the middle of the court. The referee throws the ball up and blows the whistle. The two opponents jump towards the ball, and again they fight in midair for a few seconds, but this time Victor loses. Juan falls to the ground and catches the ball. He turns around and is about to run towards Victor's basket, but is stopped by Victor standing in front of him. Juan starts dribbling the ball, and Victor tries to steal it, but Juan defends. It looks like the team captain has the advantage now. Of course, he wouldn't lose to a beginner. One of the captain's most fanatical fans spoke. Juan and Victor start running on the court. One was trying to make a basket and the other was trying to steal the ball. Getting irritated by the impasse, Juan tries to push Victor using his vampire strength, but Victor doesn't move. Crack. The latest episodes are on the WeaktoStrong website. Oh. What was that loud noise? Are they okay? I think I heard a bone breaking, someone near the court yelled. You're right, I heard a cracking sound like something had broken. A man standing next to him spoke. The audience was right, a bone broke, and it wasn't Victor's. Heh. Why are you wearing that pained expression? Will you cry? Just what are you made of? Juan asked in shock as he felt his ribs healing. He tried to take down Victor, but it felt like he was trying to bring down a mountain. Victor patted his chest and said, I'm just built different. Juan huffed. He suddenly pulled away from Victor. Is he trying to do a long shot? Is he crazy? He's not even in the middle of the court yet. Even if he's the captain, that is impossible for him to do, right? He's crazy. He really threw the ball. Fool, Juan said. Victor looked at the ball in the air and started running towards the basket he was protecting. Arriving at the basket, he just waits patiently for the ball to come down. If the ball enters the basket, bad luck for him, but if Juan misses, he is prepared for a counterattack. The entire crowd just watches anxiously as they wait for the ball to drop. Yes. The ball hit the hoop. He missed. Someone from the crowd shouted. Heh, looks like the goddess of luck is not favoring you today. Victor takes the ball and looks at one who was running towards him. As he looked at one, he thinks, the goddess of luck is a bitch. One time she pays attention to you, but, eventually, she loses interest and looks at someone else, so I don't need her. Victor positions himself to throw the ball. Don't tell me. Will he try to throw the ball from the end of the court? He's crazy, that's impossible. He's definitely not going to make that. Without realizing what Victor is going to do, one increases his running speed, with only seconds left before he gets in front of Victor. Too slow, Victor said. Suddenly, Victor changes position and holds the ball with one hand, then he throws the ball. As soon as he threw the ball, Victor started running at high speed. Ha! What is he planning? Bomb! A thunderous noise was heard on the court. Everyone looked stunned and saw that the ball hit the panel above the basketball hoop and bounced. Do not tell me. Was that his plan? Ha 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 ha. Victor chuckled with a manic smile on his face that showed all of his teeth. Suddenly, Victor jumps up, then catches the ball in the air and buries it in the basket. The latest episodes are on the WuxiaX.com website. Oh, hi. This man is insane. Is he really human? How did he run from the end of a court and still manage to catch the ball in midair? Fool. He planned it, and you didn't see he ran before he threw the ball. If we calculate right, this feat is possible to do, it's just extremely difficult. A man with black glasses spoke as he lifted his glasses. For some reason, the people standing nearby could see the man's glasses glowing. Victor lets go of the basket's hoop and falls to the ground. Then he looks at Juan with the same smile that shows all of his teeth. Is this all you can do? He teased him again. Juan's expression starts to distort again. His expression was something to behold. He was extremely angry. Who does this newborn think he is? He comes to my territory and challenges me. Who does he think he is? He's just trash. I do not accept this. Seeing Juan's expression constantly changing, Victor just smiled, then smiled even more. He looked like a child who found a fun toy to break. Oh, right, Juan spoke in a smug tone as if he realized something. I think I shouldn't hold back anymore. Victor stops smiling and looks at Juan, noticing that his atmosphere has changed. He says in disdain, and what happened to the agreement not to use powers? You've been using your powers from the start, don't expect me to follow that rule. TSK, it looks like your brain is smaller than a dog. Actually saying you have a dog's brain is very offensive for the dog itself. After all, at least dogs are loyal, Victor said while pointing to a local. Juan followed Victor's finger, and the moment Juan saw a man with blonde hair and green eyes standing in the stands, he froze. Corneliu made a gesture with his mouth, and Juan seemed to understand what Corneliu had said. Looks like the dog found its owner. Victor flashed a sneer. And? What will you do? Victor asked as he smiled again. Are you going to obey your owner or are you going to continue? Decide. How good a dog are you? Make up your own mind. Choose. His smile grew with every word he spoke. He wanted Juan to continue. He wanted Juan to show that he wasn't a dog and challenge him. Seeing the gestures his master was making, Juan bites his lip and says, I give up. He spoke out loud. His voice seemed to be heard across the court, and everyone was looking at the basketball team captain in shock. Suddenly Victor's smile died, and he lost interest. Is that it? In the end, you're just a dog. Referee, you heard him, right? The captain dropped out. The show is over, Victor said as he took off his shirt and threw it somewhere. Victor didn't wait for the referee to say something. He had lost interest, and he also fulfilled 2 of his goals. He humiliated Juan in front of the whole school. He fought so hard to be accepted in and found out who was behind him. For now, that's enough. When the women saw Victor's body, they started talking to each other. My God, look at his body. He is so hot. Does he have a girlfriend? Actually, who is he? A woman asked confused. Victor flashed a sneer. He looked at the women in the stands and thought, I'm married, witches. He didn't even set eyes on these women. Ruby, who hid again when she noticed that Victor turned to the bleachers, got up and looked at Victor who was leaving. Why do I keep hiding? Not even she knew why she was acting like this, she was just too embarrassed. Visit to wuxiax.com. Discover new novels. Ruby then looks at Corneliu, and sees the kind of face he was making. Yes, he will definitely attack Victor. I have to tell Violet. Actually, I think I should just tell him myself, but I'm embarrassed. I can't go out there and say, "Hey, Victor. I'm your wife, good morning." Just thinking about it makes me feel ashamed. Yes, I will definitely contact Violet. Maybe I will contact him myself. My head. Even though Ruby was going through a mental breakdown, her face didn't change. She still had an expressionless face as she watched Victor walk off the court. Chapter 10: A Frog in a Well. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. After the conflict I had with Luan, I lost interest in continuing college that day. I wasn't satisfied with just doing that to Luan. This 1-year grudge can't be washed away with just that, but I knew I would have my chance soon, and I could deduce it from the hateful face that noble vampire was making. He wasn't even trying to hide his hatred for me, and honestly, I didn't understand why he hated me so much. After all, I only hit his dog, right? Noble vampires seem to be beings with egos the size of the world. I doubt he would be enraged by just that, right? Before returning home I purposely waited for the noble vampire in an open dark place. I know vampires can't walk in sunlight, but if he was in college at that time then he must have ways to walk while the sun is shining in the sky, right? He might have some car that doesn't let sunlight in, or he might wear those clothes that cover his entire body. I waited for a few minutes, but when I realized he wasn't going to come, I lost interest. Before leaving the place where I was standing, I used my vampire vision to look around, and I didn't see any vampire souls. I only saw humans for several km. Realizing that everything was fine, I returned home. You fool! What were you thinking showing off in the middle of the entire university? Corneliu Funer yelled angrily as he hit the desk in the office he was at. Because of his supernatural strength, the desk he hit had his handprint carved into the wood. A few seconds before hitting the table, he managed to regain enough control to not destroy his table again. Corneliu was acting as a coach at this college. Despite being a coach, he didn't teach the students anything. He was only in charge of managing the basketball team, but that was just on paper. The reality was he wasn't doing anything. He was abusing his vampiric charm to stay in this school in an attempt to win the heart of Ruby, one of the 4 flowers of the vampire world. One at this point was very scared. He might act like a king in college, but he knows that in front of the vampire who gave him his gifts, he was nothing more than a slave. One knows that noble vampires are arrogant beings. They think the world revolves around them and they have a planet-sized egos, but that ego is as fragile as glass. At least, that's what one thinks of noble vampires. After all, he's only been in contact with a single noble vampire since he became a newborn. One looks at his master, Corneliu Funer, heir House Funer, a spoiled vampire who thinks he's the center of the world. One still remembers the day he was in a hospital bed and a young man who looked like a fairy tale prince showed up to help him. He felt he was chosen to be that prince's knight, but the reality was much more difficult than he imagined. This prince was nothing more than a spoiled vampire, but as he helped him out of that deplorable condition, he still feels gratitude to his master. You have nothing to say. Cornelia yelled angrily. One remained silent. He knows that no matter what he says, he will suffer the punishment anyway. After suffering from it for a year, he's already used to it. Torture is something very light when you get used to it. As long as my master is not touching my family, for me, a little torture is nothing. Tsk Corneliu ignores Luan and starts biting his fingers as he starts to think. This was a habit he had had since he was a child. A few minutes later, Corneliu thought of something. He looked at Luan. I'll save your punishment for later, but first, we must kill that newborn. Corneliu changed his aim. He thought that if he killed Victor he would be free to court Violet. Now that he knew Violet was in this town, he thought of it as an opportunity. Luan opens his eyes wide. Why? Why should we kill him? He stuttered. Despite being a vampire for over a year, Luan still hadn't killed a soul. He always drank his master's blood after all. Are you questioning me? If I say do something, you do it. Don't forget your position here. Corneliu spoke with a distorted face. Why yes, master. One stammered. Cornelia nodded in satisfaction. He sits down in the chair and starts to get annoyed when he thinks a newborn has stolen one of the flowers of the vampire world. Violet had always been an object of desire for all young noble vampires, a beautiful vampire with one of the rarest bloodlines in the vampire world. He couldn't accept that a humble newborn had decided to steal his most prized possession. Just wait, you little slave, I'm going to make you dog food, Cornelia spoke in a vicious tone. February 3rd. I'll be honest, I didn't expect Violet to make a huge basement in my house. I mean, I live in a normal American house, and I also have a small basement, but what I'm seeing right now is just bullshit. My old normal basement that you can see in many American houses now looks like a cave that has lots of tunnels and rooms. What did she transform this basement into? This looks like an underground base that came out of some movie. Don't tell me she installed an artificial intelligence named Blue Queen too. A better question, how did she do it so fast? Is it okay to make a basement this size here at home? Yes, why not? Violet asked me, curious. She was wearing casual clothes this time, a simple white sweatshirt and black denim shorts. She was also wearing purple sports shoes with the symbol of a famous sports brand. I was a little surprised by the outfits she picked out. I thought she only had black-colored outfits or something, or cosplay-like outfits. Well, she looks beautiful in those clothes, and I'm not complaining. Seeing me watching her, she displays a small satisfied smile. I mean, isn't my house going to fall down or something with a hole this size? I'm not very knowledgeable in physics, but I think if I create a hole this big under the house, won't the house fall down? I think that is how it works. Oh, don't worry about it. Violet claps her hands lightly, and soon I feel someone approaching. I use my vampire vision and see that person is a human. The characteristics of a vampire are very easy to identify, but I always use my vampiric vision to make sure. After all, some humans look like vampires when they are afflicted by some kind of illness, like the one I had. This woman was human, but she looked a little different from the normal humans I've seen. I could see her heart glowing as if inviting me to feed on her, but the blue aura that surrounded the woman and the heart that she seemed to glow brighter than an ordinary human I saw told me she wasn't a normal human. A woman with Western features appeared. She had short black hair and golden eyes. She was wearing a casual outfit consisting of a white shirt with a beach photo stamped on her chest, simple denim shorts, and a basic pair of sandals. She looked a little short. I think it was 155 cm. Or 160 cm. She looked a little shorter than Kaguya. Follow current novels on wuxiax.com. Darling, meet June, and June meet my husband, Victor, Violet said as she hugged my arms possessively. Yo, she said while making a V gesture with her fingers. Then she said, can you stop looking at me with those red eyes? I'm feeling a little threatened. She spoke with a happy smile on her face. By her excited tone of voice, an expression that looked like she was having fun, I honestly didn't believe she felt threatened at all. I close my eyes for a moment, and soon my vision returns to normal. I look at her with my sapphire blue eyes, and say, sorry about that, it's a bad habit of mine, I said. Don't worry, she said while smiling. Lady Violet, I did my job and I want my payment. You can deposit it in my account with the same amount as always. I know, $1 million, right? Violet spoke casually. I almost choked when I heard the amount of money. Just how much money does my wife have to go throwing around $1 million like it's a dollar bill? Yes, indeed, June spoke while shaking her head. She makes a few gestures with her hands, and soon the basement began to change. White ceramics began to grow on the floor, and several wooden coffins began to be created in the bedrooms. The walls began to turn a whiter color and I could see that bricks began to be created. And like a magic trick, the basement that once looked like a cave now looks like the interior of a mansion that has been painted in a black and white theme. With my current knowledge, only one group of beings could do what this woman did, witches. June displays a small satisfied smile, but soon that smile changes to a happy, joyful smile. Indeed. June is a witch I hired when I arrived in the US. As you can see, she has more useful and unique skills. Violet spoke with an elegant smile. If you have an order that cannot be legally placed, you can ask June. She will charge dearly, but since you are my husband, she will give a discount, right? Violet spoke with an elegant smile as she looked at June, who had her smile twitching slightly. Of course, Lady Violet, June said. I looked at Violet, and I could deduce a little bit of what she was thinking. This princess was thinking how helpful it is to have a person who can literally create a structure with a hand gesture. I think she plans to keep June around. For a small moment, I almost felt sorry for June, but it was only for a moment. After all, I barely know June enough to feel any sympathy for her. And Violet seems to have a long history with this witch. Why did you create this basement? I was going to ask Violet why she created this underground basement, but when I remember all the servants she had, I fell silent. Never mind. Violet pouted. I think she wanted to explain to me in detail why she created this basement. I smile a little and start stroking her head. For a moment, I feel Violet's body tremble like she's been shocked by electricity or something. As I stroked Violet's head, I looked at the newly constructed basement. Of course, this is all very useful since, if Violet's underlings live here, they will be quite helpful in the future, but how the fuck am I going to explain this to my parents? Follow current novels on WuxiaX.com. I've decided I'll keep it hidden from them. They can be weird and ignore my physical change. They can be weird enough and accept Violet as my wife easily, but this here? This is another level of bullshit I would have to invent to convince my parents. Suddenly remembering the plans I had to earn money while walking through college, I looked at June. Just call me June, she said, smiling. I need a fake ID, a fake bank account, preferably a tax haven bank account. I also need a fake SSN. Can you arrange that for me? June looked at me confused, but soon she responded with a professional smile. Oh. That's easy. June picks up a phone and punches in some numbers, then she starts talking to someone. A few minutes later she looks at me. Which fake name do you want? Name James Bond, cough, James Smith. For a moment, I almost named a famous agent from the movies. I thought it would be cool, but when I started stealing in the future, it could get me into some issues. Copyrights. Believe me, copyright issues are very annoying. Stealing is much easier than solving copyright issues. She nodded. A few minutes passed again, and I could feel Violet's breathing start to get more erratic. She was looking at me with glowing red eyes. She looked like she was going to jump on me at any moment. For a moment, I looked at my hand. Do I have a god hand? Why is she reacting like this just by me stroking her head? As I looked at my hand as if it were Midas' right hand, June just spoke on the phone, and soon she summons 2 documents. The first document is a fake ID card that has my fake SSN on it, and the other is my bank account. I look at the bank account document and I see the document is from a bank account in a tax-free country, the wonders of a tax haven. You are very efficient. Are all witches like this? I asked, genuinely surprised. This information is going to cost a little more. Do you really want to know? June spoke as her golden eyes sparkled a little. If this were an anime, I'm sure her eyes would turn into the $sign by now. Forget what I said, I reply. TSK, too bad, she pouted. She's really greedy, huh? Well, at least she's honest. Violet suddenly looks at June with her blood-red eyes. Leave, she spoke as the teeth began to change into sharp teeth that could tear flesh easily. June felt a shiver run down her spine as she looked into Violet's eyes. Cough. I remembered that I had to feed my cat in Hawaii. Take care. Lord husband, soon I will be back to collect money for my services. See ya. June makes a few gestures with her hands, and suddenly a magic circle appears on the ground, and she disappears. Visit to WuxiaX.com. Discover new novels. When June leaves, I suddenly feel an explosion of bloodlust coming from Violet. I display a small smile and I also let my desire out. I wanted her. I wanted her blood. Let's have fun, darling. Violet spoke with a huge smile that showed all of her teeth.